It's impressive how a simple trick like making a handkerchief disappear can make someone smile, let alone making that same handkerchief reappear moments later. But the magic is happening here, in a country millions of miles away in countless different ways.
And after you finish that, show the magic bag, okay?
In a country filled with extreme poverty and a predominantly malnourished population, teaching magic may seem almost irrelevant. In Western culture, it's seen as more of a hobby that doesn't exactly make food appear on the dinner table. While it certainly entertains these children, it succeeds on a much higher level. It gives them a glimpse of something they would never have thought possible.
The kids here appreciate it in a little different way because they've never seen it before.
The magician and 16 others are here on a unique and diverse humanitarian mission. They'll interact with kids, perform medical checkups, and travel to schools to educate instructors. These are basic tasks in the Western world, but here even the most ordinary assistance is something new in Ethiopia, something these people don't regularly see. You could even call it magic. While rich in lush vegetation and green space, Ethiopia is poor in every sense of the word, a sort of paradise lost. Medicine Hat-based relief organization Canadian Humanitarian sees the country in a different light, as paradise potential, a vision it's been working towards since its inception in 2003. Most often, Canadian Humanitarian partners with local governments to establish educational centers for children. Twice a year, a group of volunteers pack their bags, take a leave of absence, or use any vacation time they can muster, whatever it takes to exchange their normal life for a plane ticket to a nation in needing. In the capital city of Addis Ababa, a thick layer of smog lies overhead. It's no wonder that respiratory illnesses are the #1 cause of death in Ethiopia. But it'll likely surprise you to find out what the #1 cause of death is for kids: diarrhea. What's more of an annoyance back home is killing kids in Ethiopia by the thousands.
The burden of disease here is quite high, and it may seem like a silly little thing, but you get a skin disease, it can make you pretty uncomfortable. You get a bad enough skin disease, it can spread and to the point where you're having, you're putting your health at risk.
Dr. Richard Northcott is far from his usual surroundings inside the emergency room at the Medicine Hat Hospital. In both scenarios, here in Ethiopia and back home in Medicine Hat, he's helping the sick. But it's safe to say he'll make a greater impact here today with these children. In this country, physicians are scarce. There's only one doctor for every 48,000 Ethiopians.
The kids do have access to medical care at some of the centers, like Kids Hope, for example. There's a nurse on staff, but the nurse is only looking for, surface things.
Yeah, I think the most common problem today was skin infections. We had a number of injured kids who had had injuries that had been subsequently infected that we had to treat with antibiotics. A number of scalp infections. Only one case of lice today, which was a surprise.
The reason? A new well and water system at this school. It provides water for drinking, washing, and bathing, luxuries not available at most homes. What Dr. Northcott won't find is obesity. In fact, massive numbers of the children are well undernourished. Most Ethiopians are classified as living in either moderate or extreme poverty. According to the World Health Organization, almost 80% live on less than $2 a day. Even more revealing, a quarter of the population earn less than $1. The global economic crisis has made the situation worse for the poor. Inflation has doubled and tripled the cost of food. It's financial pressure that's hard for many parents to burden.
We can't just look after their schooling. We need to look after their social, emotional, physical needs as well as their schooling.
A daunting task, to be sure, but one this group is determined to complete. In fact, all of these members with Canadian Humanitarian help with medicals. An updated photo of the kids is taken before they are weighed and measured to track the child's growth. These children don't have exact birth dates. Instead, their ages are estimated based on the maturity of their bone structure and teeth. Dr. Northcott only has basic medical instruments to conduct the physical checkups. He also spent his own money to purchase the majority of medications he brought from Medicine Hat. Of all the illnesses and diseases that Dr. Northcott will see, these kids are actually fortunate because they're in a Canadian humanitarian program and will be treated. Other kids aren't so lucky.
Yeah, there are many kids out there that are not in this program that have the same diseases and don't get medical treatment. That's right, they get no medical treatment. They get no lunch, no medicines, no attention. Yeah, it's very true.
The life expectancy in Ethiopia is 50 years old, but many die much younger while they're still toddlers. The chance of a child dying before the age of 5 is nearly 17%. That's an improvement from 21% in 1990, but a far cry from the goal of reducing the mortality rate below 5%.
In North America, we don't think about children dying. Here, it's a normal part of life for children to die. A large number of kids will die within the first year of life, and an even larger group before the age of 10. And they're dying from things like diarrhea, respiratory infections, tuberculosis, malaria, and AIDS. And most of these diseases, with the exception of AIDS, are treatable, preventable, and we would not accept the death rates from these diseases in North America. The fact that we still have 1.5 million kids dying every year of malaria, which is treatable and preventable, seems to me to be a tragedy.
A tragedy he recognizes as reality in Ethiopia, but Dr. Northcott knows he is creating change in this country with every mouth that opens and every heartbeat he hears. Inside Medicine Hat's Crescent Heights High School, it's business as usual for communication technologies teacher Donna Armstrong. She's teaching photography, which happens to be the passion in both her personal and professional life.
So those are always things that you're going to look at. Always your rule of thirds. Where is your light coming from? And what can we capture? These
4 walls are where Donna and her students brainstormed a project without boundaries. They came up with the idea of bringing photography to a third world country. The project is called Photo Voice. It uses cameras to help groups of people openly express their ideas and opinions. On a larger scope, its goal is to empower those who often don't have a voice. In Ethiopia, women are treated as second-class citizens. In most cases, they're single mothers on limited income. When photography was first introduced in North America, Native Indians believed it was magic. Decades later, this project will bring cameras to Africa and have a similar effect. Eyes will open and minds will expand to a whole range of ideas never thought possible or real. Overseas in Ethiopia, Donna goes to work. She's in her comfort zone, once again teaching at the front of a classroom. While the subject of photography is familiar to her, the group of students is foreign. Donna starts at the very beginning by showing how to insert the batteries and memory card before teaching the basics of how a camera works. In a flash, the women begin hands-on training, taking their cameras to different areas of this school. Just simply holding a camera is extraordinary, gratifying, and yet so very uncommon. Family pictures don't hang in homes, school pictures don't exist. But these women can now communicate a part of their lives, their history, and their story.
she really wanted to have a history of learning, that it was that important to her to show that she was giving the opportunity to her daughter, and she also had the opportunity to learn.
Taking a photograph can be a simple practice, but this activity is empowering the women by allowing them to express themselves, a novel concept in a country filled with double standards.
Anytime we can do something that allows women to become empowered is great for us at Canadian Humanitarian. Even little things like having women head up committees or having women be involved in decision making. It's those little things that are eventually going to expand into having women be community leaders.
Having cameras and the ability to use them is important. Donna is showing them creativity. But if a picture can tell 1,000 words, these photos tell a dark story of a world that is bleak.
The most important part was that they had said that learning for women and girls in Ethiopia was critical because it doesn't just affect them, it affects their entire family. And so the skills that they've learned here not only give them photographs to take back to their families, but to also have skills to then pass on.
While at the school, Donna and the other volunteers deliver books donated by some Medicine Hat schools and the library. Ethiopia faces a countrywide shortage of entry-level English books. There is a strong willingness to learn, but the resources often just aren't available. The cameras will also be left at this school, along with battery chargers. In the future, children will also be trained in photography and be able to hone their skills with the digital cameras. They too can gain confidence and have a new means of inspiration. It is that imagination that will point the women to what they might yet discover, create, or make appear. Donna admits she'd love to stay in Ethiopia and continue working with the women, although in many ways she says she's felt more the student than the teacher.
I think they made more of a footprint on me than I've made on them.
After the humanitarian trip is finished, Donna will return back to her classroom at Crescent Heights High School in Medicine Hat with a new lesson to share with her students.
Being able to see that we're not so different, that we all have hopes and dreams, and we're lifelong learners, and we learn together in a global community.
Donna's project shows how a seemingly small contribution can be life-altering.
People always assume that they can't do anything unless they're a physician or, a water engineer or some sort of profession like that. And that's not the case. There's a lot that can be done here.
With years of experience using raw pieces of wood to create furniture, this carpenter didn't envision coordinating a large project while in Ethiopia. At his woodworking shop, there are no illusions, no sleight of hand. But make no mistake, through the dust in the air, minds are expanding and imaginations are growing. After arriving just minutes ago, Dale Salmon's first impression isn't about the type of cuts being made or the level of artistic design going into the work. Instead, the owner of carpentry shop Wood Visions in Medicine Hat notices the absence of safety measures in place to protect the students.
We use glasses and ears.
Hundreds of miles away from his own shop, Dale takes little time to adjust to his new surroundings. Initially, his advice is quite basic, but he makes sure to stress that better safety standards and equipment are needed.
I talked to them about that because I feel that they're ripe for having an accident.
What Dale isn't familiar with is the role of being a teacher, but that's his ambition here in Ethiopia. Along with his 18-year-old son, Brett, he joined the Canadian humanitarian expedition, wanting to share the skills he's learned as a carpenter.
Then put it in the planer, then the jointer.
This shop is actually a school, providing skill training for teenagers. It's giving the street kids a second chance because many of them have little other schooling, if any. Besides woodworking, the center provides training in metalwork and hairstyling. The three trades share a common objective of teaching students to use their minds and hands together. School officials say their teaching philosophy is identical to the basics of parenting. The organization invests in the future of the teenagers by nurturing and educating. The objective is to see the students grow as people and become independent.
Because you're dulling your blade. It won't last as long.
As expected, most of the student work is done by hand, but Dale's gift of 2 new belt sanders and a jigsaw should help.
They're doing all their arch cuts and round cuts by hand, and so their quality isn't quite the way it should be, so the power jigsaw should help that a bit too. It'd be nice to be able to get them to feel they can progress in technology. Okay.
Dale's final contribution to the students and instructors is designs for a distinctive type of bed. Like most of the furniture created at the school, it's practical and useful. Compact to save space, it will also include a second mattress that slides out from the base to sleep additional people. It's a new practice that these students never thought possible, but don't take long to grasp.
I thought if I could just leave them with one sort of plan that they could try to be different than someone in the street, something that they haven't seen before. So I suggested the trundle bed, which is just a double-decker bed, which is what they do quite well here, is make a bed.
The students seemed excited about doing something new and new ideas, because then I'm sure they were thinking of their futures and thinking that they could change other things.
The goal of the center is to become self-sustaining and be able to finance their own projects. That's why Salmon gave them new tools and new designs in order to create a better product.
I think that by using those kids, one, they can earn their living through these magic activities or other activities, and or we can raise funds to help the poor kids.
Students at the SSCM Center graduate after 1 year. New techniques from a veteran Medicine Hat carpenter can kickstart their chance of finding a job after school or inspire them to dream of new possibilities like setting up their own woodworking shop, something Dale chose to do in Medicine Hat nearly 2 decades ago. Venturing down a back alley, these humanitarian workers are embarking on one of their most important tasks while in Ethiopia, visiting the homes of students that are enrolled in school programs with Canadian Humanitarian. This is one of the nicer homes they'll visit. Questions are asked about the health of all family members and whether or not the parent or guardian encourages the child to do their homework in the evenings.
It's a humbling experience. We're very fortunate to come from Canada, and the way of life here is completely different.
Stacy and the rest of the group tour a local school. With an abundance of confidence, the students sing and dance for their foreign visitors. They're also abundant in numbers. At this center, 50 children are packed into every classroom.
Some of them don't have desks, and if they do, then 2 to 3 of the children sit at one desk.
We've already been on a home visit and seen where some of these children do live, and then you have a different connection with them. You remember that they don't have electricity at night, they don't have, their only meal is here.
Next stop is an orphanage on the edge of town. Using an acoustic guitar, spirited vocals, and cheeky dance moves, they entertain the kids. To be a foreigner in a distant land and being able to make a child smile is magic in its rawest form.
Unfortunately, HIV/AIDS has eradicated the social structure in Ethiopia. So kids don't have the typical family. They're lucky if most of the kids in our Kids Hope project here, for example, have one family, one adult that they can depend on. And that adult is stretched. Their main priority is providing for that child, giving them a home, giving them food. Their main priority is not sitting down and reading a book with them.
They're children, they play the same, they laugh the same, they laugh at their same jokes, and they have the same potential as every other kid if they're given the opportunity.
Despite the hardships that these children face, they are resilient. They're also proud of what they do have and take every opportunity to share their culture with visitors.
Well, one will sit beside you, one will start pulling the hair on your arms, tilt your legs, or feel your hair, or they just haven't seen this or experienced it, and nor have I.
They just love you, and they don't care like who you are. They just love the attention that you give them, and it's just cool. I like it. Definitely going to take away the fact that I have friends here now, and not only that I got to help them out, but that I'm going to leave with always having those friendships.
The expedition in Ethiopia is coming to a close. On the final day, optical illusions and vanishing objects are the theme. It's the brainchild of Vern Hyde, who took 9 children under his wand and taught them the art of magic. Vern seems worlds away from his life back home as a financial planner in Medicine Hat. It's his second time joining a Canadian humanitarian expedition to Ethiopia. This occasion, he chose to share his passion of magic with local children.
The first time I came to Ethiopia, I did some magic shows and realized that these kids have never seen anything like this.
Vern spent roughly $3,000 to purchase and bring magic balls, rings, handkerchiefs, and other magic supplies overseas. It's a price tag he didn't hesitate to pay.
Hopefully one day, one will become very, very excited and interested and be able to do something with it for cash, for a job.
The value of having any type of job in Ethiopia can't be understated, because in most cases, one employed person can support 6 other individuals.
This is a skill that they can take into restaurants, they can take into public places, and they can maybe make a little bit of money off it. But also too, it's an empowering thing for these kids because they've learned a really cool skill that they can teach to their peers as well.
Even without employment, this gives the children something to hold on to, something to motivate them, something to inspire them.
They need something like this. They need to develop some sort of a talent, and it's such a unique talent here in Ethiopia that it'll be a really, really fun thing for them.
Quite often, Hyde will perform basic magic tricks at restaurants or even on the streets here in Ethiopia, and it is contagious. And the reactions he sees are amazing. Some say that his magic is illegal because it disobeys the laws of physics, while others question if he has supernatural powers.
The one guy asked me if it was a gift from God, if I'd been blessed with something. So I had to explain that this magic is something that you can learn, and it's just little secrets, and you learn how to do magic. It's nothing like that, but everybody that we do magic for here are absolutely amazed, and they love it. Then you take, poof, show them pictures.
After spending 5 hours practicing with each student, they perform their first magic show in front of staff and small children at a nearby orphanage that's run by Canadian adoption agency KFAC. The performance is a crowd pleaser. Afterward, Vern thanks his students and gives them a small piece of recognition on a job well done. It's the final time that Vern will see the children on this trip before disappearing to Medicine Hat. But he's already planning his next voyage to reappear in Africa.
I believe that the work we do out here is magic all by itself, just by the way that we can love these kids and the way that they can feel it. So it's been a magical experience.
Vern and maybe some others in the group will return to Ethiopia in the future. In any case, they'll all take with them a different perspective on life and carry with them an imprint of their experiences. In a short time, they provided medical treatment, gave new tools, provided unseen technology, and touched the heart of more than one child. While the doctor's care is vital to healing the sick and protecting the healthy, smaller contributions can often incite equal, if not bigger, change, especially with children who now can believe in possibilities beyond their surroundings. They're meant as modest contributions, but received with exceptional gratitude. Humble change, making magic a world away.